There's a moment that catches you off guard. It usually happens around 8 or 9 in the evening. You're sitting in your living room, maybe holding a cup of tea that's gone cold, and suddenly you notice something unsettling. The phone hasn't rung all day. Nobody knocked on the door. The house is so quiet you can hear the refrigerator cycling on and off, the soft creak of floorboards settling, and underneath all of that, your own breathing. If you're over 60 and living alone, you've probably had this moment more times than you'd like to admit. Society has spent decades telling you that this silence is something to dread. That being alone in your later years means you've somehow failed, been forgotten, or worse, become irrelevant. But what if everything you've been told about solitude after 60 is completely wrong? What if that empty chair across from you and those quiet evenings aren't punishments at all? What if they're actually invitations, doorways into the most peaceful, authentic chapter of your entire life? I want you to imagine something with me. It's a Wednesday evening. You're in your kitchen, heating up some soup. The television is off. Your phone sits dark on the counter. Your kids are hundreds of miles away, busy with their own lives, their own children, their own chaos. And that familiar whisper creeps in. Is this it? Is this what I worked my whole life for? Did I somehow become invisible without noticing? So you reach for the remote. You turn on some show you've already seen 3 times, just to hear voices, just to feel like you're still part of something. Anything to escape the weight of that silence. But I wish someone had grabbed me by the shoulders years ago and said this: that moment you keep running from contains a gift you've spent 60 years earning. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 5 fundamental shifts that can transform solitude from your greatest fear into something you actually protect. You'll learn to make peace with silence rather than fight it. How to build simple daily rituals that anchor your sense of calm. How to handle the real, practical challenges of living alone, health, safety, money, without pretending they don't exist. How to choose meaningful connections over a desperate company. And finally, how to discover purpose and rhythm in a life that finally, fully belongs to you. By the time we're done here, I believe you'll see something clearly. Being alone after 60 isn't a sentence handed down by life. It's a freedom most people never get to experience, and you're standing right at its doorstep. So stay with me. What you're about to discover might change how you see every quiet evening for the rest of your life. Number 1. Making peace with silence and your own mind. The first real challenge of living alone after 60 has nothing to do with practical matters like cooking for one or fixing things around the house. The first challenge is much deeper. It's learning to sit with silence without treating it like an enemy to be defeated. When life slows down and the house grows quiet, something strange happens inside most of us. We panic, not outwardly. We don't scream or run, but internally. A kind of low-grade alarm starts sounding. We hear the clock ticking. We notice how loud the silence actually is. And then, beneath all that stillness, we start hearing something we've been avoiding for years, our own thoughts. And honestly, some of those thoughts aren't pleasant company. Old regrets come knocking. That argument from 1,987 replays in your head. Questions you've buried are starting to surface. Did I do enough? Did I love the people in my life well enough? Do I even matter anymore? These thoughts can feel unbearable when there's no external noise to drown them out. This is exactly why so many people living alone keep the television on for 12 hours a day. It's why they scroll through their phones until their eyes ache. It's why they call anyone, even people they don't particularly enjoy talking to, just to hear another human voice. They're not looking for entertainment. they're running from themselves. But here's what brain science has taught us in recent years. Your mind actually needs periods of quiet to stay healthy. When we constantly fill our environment with noise and stimulation, we deny our brains the space they need to process emotions, sort through memories, and restore cognitive function. Silence isn't attacking you. It's offering you something, a chance to finally sit with yourself, acknowledge what's been buried, and make peace with the person you've become. Let me give you 3 practical ways to start befriending silence this week. Start by setting aside just 10 minutes each morning to sit without any devices. No phone, no television, no radio, no podcasts. Just you. A warm drink if you like. And whatever light is coming through the window. Let your mind drift wherever it wants to go. You're not meditating or trying to achieve anything. You're simply teaching your body that quiet is safe, that you can survive without constant stimulation when silence starts to feel overwhelming. Try a simple breathing pattern. In for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Out for 4. I know it sounds almost too simple to work, but this isn't mystical. It's basic biology. This rhythm activates calming signals throughout your body, easing that fight or flight response that silence can trigger. Keep a small notebook within arm's reach. When uncomfortable thoughts surface during quiet moments, write them down. Don't try to solve them or argue with them. Just acknowledge them on paper. You're teaching yourself that your inner voice deserves to be heard, not constantly silenced or numbed. I heard about a man named George who spent nearly 3 years falling asleep with the television blaring every single night. He told himself it was just background noise, but the truth was simpler and harder to admit. He was terrified of what his own mind would say if he gave it room to speak. 1 month, he decided to try something different. Each night, he turned the volume down a little, week after week, lower and lower, until one Thursday night. The television was completely off, and George lay there in the dark, listening to nothing but his own breathing and the distant sound of cars passing outside. He expected panic. What he felt instead surprised him completely. He felt safe. He felt, for the first time in years, like he was actually home, not just in his house, but in his own skin. That night, something shifted in George. His real life, he says now, started again right there in that silence. Number 2, building daily rituals that give your days shape. Without some kind of structure, solitude can quickly turn into a shapeless fog. Hours disappear. You look up and realize you've spent the entire afternoon scrolling through the same websites, or napping on and off, or just staring at walls without really seeing them. Days blur together until you can't remember if it's Tuesday or Saturday. The antidote to this isn't cramming your schedule full of activities or forcing yourself to be productive. The antidote is much gentler, building small, meaningful rituals that give your days natural shape. These rituals aren't about accomplishing things. They're about being present in your own life. And study after study keeps finding the same thing. Simple daily rituals reduce anxiety, improve sleep quality, and give people a genuine sense of control. For those of us living alone after 60, rituals become even more essential. They act like gentle bookends holding your day together, signaling to your body that you're safe, that someone is caring for you, even if that someone is yourself, and that tomorrow matters. Here's what a day with rituals might look like. Morning arrives, and before anything else, you make your bed. This one small act of caring for your space sets a tone for everything that follows. It says, quietly but clearly, I matter enough to keep my environment orderly. Then you brew your coffee or tea with real attention. You don't rush through it while checking your phone. You feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. You notice the smell rising up. Maybe you spend 10 minutes stretching, nothing fancy, just gentle movement to wake up your body. Midday comes, and you eat lunch at an actual table, not standing over the sink, not in front of a glowing screen, even if it's just a simple sandwich. You set a proper place for yourself. You'd do it for a guest, wouldn't you? After eating, you step outside for a short walk around your block. Fresh air and movement reset your energy in ways that nothing else quite matches. Evening settles in, and you prepare a simple dinner, then sit down to eat it properly. You dim the lights about an hour before sleep. This helps your body's natural rhythms prepare for rest. And before bed, you write 3 sentences about your day. Just 3. What happened, how you felt, what you noticed. This small practice helps your brain process everything and signals that it's time to wind down. There was a man named Harold who lost his wife Margaret after 47 years of marriage. Every corner of their house held memories. Every empty chair felt like an accusation. For months, he drifted through days without any sense of purpose or direction. A neighbor, I think she could see he was drowning, suggested he create just one daily ritual. Something small, something he could actually stick with. Harold decided to walk to a particular bench in the park near his home every afternoon at 3 o'clock. At first, he went there mostly to cry where nobody could see him. Then he started bringing a thermos of coffee. Weeks passed, and he began noticing things. The same woman walking her golden retriever. The same group of children playing after school. The same oak trees shifting through their autumn colors. That bench didn't erase Harold's grief. Nothing could do that, but it gave his days a rhythm again. It reminded him that he was still part of the world, still connected to seasons and strangers and the small beauties that continue whether we notice them or not. The key is consistency rather than perfection. You don't need elaborate routines. You just need a few anchors that hold your days in place. Number 3, facing the practical realities, health, safety, and money. Let's talk about something that most inspirational content conveniently ignores. The real, unglamorous, practical challenges of living alone after 60. Solitude can absolutely become beautiful and peaceful, but it also comes with responsibilities that demand honest attention. Pretending these realities don't exist won't make them disappear. It just leaves you vulnerable. Health and safety need direct attention. When you live alone, there's no one to notice if you're feeling unwell, if you've taken a fall, or if something serious is developing. This isn't about living in fear. It's about having a plan. Keep emergency contacts posted somewhere visible, like your refrigerator door. If you have ongoing health conditions, a medical alert system might be worth the investment. Establish a regular check-in routine with at least one trusted person, maybe a daily text to a friend or a weekly call with family. Let someone know your normal patterns so they'll notice if something changes. Pay close attention to nutrition. 2. When you're cooking for one, it's incredibly easy to stop preparing real meals. Crackers for dinner, cereal at midnight, skipped meals because it's not worth the effort. But your body needs consistent, nourishing food to maintain strength and mental clarity. Cook larger portions and freeze half for later. Keep simple, healthy staples on hand. Treat yourself with the same care you once gave to feeding your family. Financial reality deserves honest examination. 2. Many people living alone after 60 face genuine economic pressure, single income, loss of a partner's earnings, rising costs for housing and health care. If this describes you, there's no shame in it. Look into community resources, meal programs, transportation assistance, and senior centers with free activities. Consider honestly whether your current housing still makes sense. Sometimes downsizing dramatically improves both finances and quality of life. Legal preparation matters more than most people want to admit. Make sure you have a current will, a healthcare power of attorney, and a living will that expresses your wishes. Keep important documents organized where someone you trust can find them. Have direct conversations with family about your wishes, even when those conversations feel uncomfortable. You're not burdening anyone. You're giving them the gift of clarity during what will already be a difficult time. Technology can be either a tool or a trap. Video calls let you see your grandchildren's faces from anywhere. Online communities connect you with people who share your interests. But endless scrolling actually increases loneliness rather than relieving it. Set boundaries. Use specific times to check news or social media. Let technology enhance real connections, not replace them. These practical matters aren't obstacles to your peace. They're the foundation that makes sustainable solitude possible. When you know you're safe, nourished, and prepared, you can relax much more fully into the quieter joys of living alone. Number 4. Choosing meaningful connection over desperate company. Here's something that might surprise you. Study after study shows that older adults with just 2 or 3 close, meaningful relationships report higher life satisfaction and better physical health than those with large but shallow social networks. Quantity doesn't equal quality. Your heart and your body both know the difference between genuine connection and empty socializing. When you're afraid of being alone, you tend to accept any company that comes along, even if it drains you, disrespects you, or pulls you back into old conflicts you thought you'd escaped. You say yes to invitations you don't actually want. You stay on phone calls far longer than feels comfortable. You tolerate people who talk over you, dismiss your opinions, or treat your time as worthless, all because any human noise seems better than silence. But something shifts when you start genuinely appreciating solitude. Your standards for connection naturally rise. You begin asking yourself honest questions. Does this interaction leave me feeling energized or depleted? Does this person actually see me? Or are they just filling their own need for an audience? Does this relationship honor my peace or constantly disrupt it? Here's how to start discerning which connections deserve your precious time. After any social interaction, whether in person, by phone, or online, pause and notice how you feel. More energized, more exhausted. Neither answer is wrong, but pay attention to patterns over weeks. They reveal something important about where your time is best invested. Then there's the art of saying no without elaborate justification. A simple, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I need a quiet evening" is complete all by itself. People who genuinely respect you will understand. Those who push back or guilt trip you, they were probably never really seeing you clearly anyway. Finally, identify 1 or 2 relationships where you feel truly heard and valued, and invest there intentionally. Send a thoughtful note. Suggest meeting for coffee. Show up for them during difficult moments, not out of obligation, but because you genuinely want to. I heard about a woman named Eleanor who spent the first year after her husband's death saying yes to everything. Every lunch invitation, every phone call, every family gathering, even the ones that left her feeling invisible. She thought staying busy meant staying connected. But most nights she came home more exhausted and lonelier than before. One afternoon, her granddaughter called just to talk. No agenda, no rush. They spoke for 40 minutes about nothing in particular. Books, birds outside the window. A funny thing the cat did. When Eleanor hung up, she realized something. That single conversation had filled her more than a dozen obligatory social events combined. She started being more selective after that. Fewer lunches with acquaintances who dominated conversations. More quiet afternoons with a few people who actually listened. Her social calendar shrank, but her sense of connection grew deeper than it had been in years. The goal isn't isolation. It's intention. You're learning to choose connections that honor your solitude rather than connections that exist only to erase it. Number 5. Discovering meaning in your own rhythm. For most of your adult life, you probably measured yourself against external yardsticks. Career advancement, raising children, earning money, solving crises, keeping pace with everyone around you. There was always another goal to chase, another expectation to meet, another person whose approval seemed necessary. Now, past 60, especially if you're living alone, that race begins slowing down. And for many people, I won't pretend otherwise, this feels terrifying. If you're no longer climbing ladders, no longer needed every moment by children or employers, what's the point? Who are you when nobody's watching? But solitude offers a completely different story. Without the constant pressure to perform and produce, you're finally free to walk at whatever pace feels right for you. This freedom isn't about doing whatever random thing pops into your head. It's about doing what genuinely matters to you, with whatever time and energy you have left. And that might look very different from what society taught you to value. Maybe it feels like waking up without an alarm, letting your body set its own rhythm. Maybe it's taking a long drive with no particular destination, just to watch the landscape change outside your window. Maybe it's spending an entire afternoon absorbed in a hobby that earns no money, impresses nobody, but fills your heart completely. These aren't signs of wasted time. They're signs of a life finally being reclaimed. Many people struggle with purpose after 60, and I understand why. The question, what's the point? It can feel heavy when the old answers no longer apply. But purpose doesn't need to be grand, public, or impressive. Some of the most meaningful purposes are quiet and local. You might find purpose in tending a small garden, noticing which plants reach toward the sun and which prefer shade, watching life cycle through seasons right outside your window, in organizing old photographs and writing down the stories behind them, knowing these memories might matter to someone long after you're gone, in offering calm, hard-won wisdom to a younger neighbor struggling through something you once survived, volunteering a few hours each week at a library or food bank, in learning something entirely new, simply because curiosity hasn't abandoned you yet. Psychologists call this generativity, the desire to contribute something to the generations coming after you. This might mean mentoring someone in a skill you've spent decades mastering, teaching a grandchild how to cook recipes that your own mother taught you, recording pieces of your life story so your experiences aren't lost, supporting causes that will continue long after your own time ends. This kind of purpose connects your solitude to something larger than yourself, without requiring you to sacrifice your peace in the process. Here's something worth trying this week. Spend 1 hour doing something purely for enjoyment. No productive purpose allowed. Not exercise because you should, not cleaning because it needs doing. Something that serves no purpose except to make you feel alive. See what happens when you give yourself that permission. You stop measuring your days by how many people you call or how many plans fill your calendar. You start measuring them by how present you felt, how peaceful your heart was, how honestly you lived. That's the quiet power of living alone after 60, not escape from life, a new, gentler way of being completely alive. Final thought. If you've stayed with me through all of this, it tells me something important about you. You're willing to look honestly at your own life, even when the subject touches fears about aging, about being forgotten, about whether you still matter in a world that seems to rush past without noticing. Solitude after 60 can feel frightening when you believe it's the same thing as abandonment. But as we've explored together, it can become something else entirely, a season of genuine peace, a time to finally make friends with silence, to build small rituals that hold your days together, to face practical realities with clear eyes, to choose connections that nourish rather than drain, to walk through your remaining years at a rhythm that belongs to nobody but yourself. You don't have to transform everything by tomorrow morning. Start with one small thing. Turn off the television a little earlier tonight and sit with whatever thoughts arise. Take a short walk tomorrow without bringing your phone. Prepare one proper meal and actually sit down to enjoy it. Reach out to one person you trust for an honest conversation about how you're really doing. Each small choice sends a message deep into your bones. I am safe here. I belong in my own life. Over time, that message sinks deeper and deeper. The rooms that once felt empty begin to feel like home. The evenings that once frightened you become moments you quietly look forward to, because they're yours. Completely yours. If anything here resonated with you, leave a comment sharing what time of day you feel most at peace. Even just a few words. Someone else scrolling through might feel less invisible because of what you write. And if you know someone learning to live alone after a lifetime of caring for others, consider sharing this with them. Thank you for spending this time together. May your quiet nights be gentle. May your mornings arrive with steadiness. And may you discover, one ordinary day at a time, that being alone does not have to mean being lonely.